There is a technique so ancient, so rarely spoken of, that it is almost forgotten. Not because it is lost, but because it is hidden. Not in books, not in temples, not on mountaintops, but within you. This technique is not something you learn. It is something you remember. You see, we have all been given a gift, but in the noise of the world, in the endless pursuit of achievement, in the constant running away from silence, we forget that we were born with the ability to see, not just with the eyes, but with the spirit. To activate the inner vision, you must stop seeking. You must stop looking outward for what is already within. Sit, breathe, observe, not the world, not your thoughts. Observe the observer. Ask yourself, who is it that sees? Not just light and color, but emotion, energy, movement before it moves. When you close your eyes, the world doesn't disappear. It simply stops distracting you. That is when the true images begin to form. At first, it is subtle, like a whisper in the wind, a sensation behind the eyes, a pressure, not from the outside, but from the center of your being. Do not be afraid, that is the gate. Most people turn back when they reach this point, because the silence becomes too loud. But if you stay, if you breathe through it, if you surrender, the forbidden technique is not forbidden because it is dangerous. It is forbidden because it strips away everything false. It leaves you with only truth, and most are not ready for that. When your inner eye opens, you begin to see not what is, but what truly is. You begin to feel time stretching, space folding, intentions forming before they are spoken. You see the currents of thought, the shadows of energy, but this cannot be rushed. The technique demands stillness, discipline, presence. Your mind must become a mirror, undistorted, calm, reflective. If there is anger, you will see anger. If there is fear, you will see fear. But once the mind is still, you will see what lies beyond the invisible, the essence behind the form, the motion behind the gesture, the silence behind the sound. And the beauty of this path is that no one can walk it for you. No one can teach it to you. They can point, they can speak, but the seeing is yours alone. The vision is yours alone. This is the inner way, hidden not in mystery, but in plain sight. You need only the courage to look. And once you begin to look, truly look, not with your eyes, not with your thoughts, but with your presence, something shifts. The boundaries that once defined you begin to dissolve. What you once believed to be the edge of your being, you realize was only the edge of your perception. That breath you thought was yours, was never yours. It was the same breath that moved through the trees, the same breath that stirred the oceans, the same breath that entered the first human and still moves through every living thing. When the inner vision awakens, you don't just see differently, you are different. There is a clarity, not of intellect, but of essence. You begin to move in alignment with something older than thought, something deeper than knowledge. This clarity is not always comfortable. In fact, it will challenge everything you have built upon illusion. It strips away your identities like the wind strips leaves from a tree in autumn. It does not ask for permission. It simply reveals. The technique is not a series of steps you can memorize. It is not a system to be mastered. It is a return, a remembering, a falling back into the natural rhythm of existence. Before the mind learned to label everything, before your perception was filtered through expectation, fear, desire, it begins with silence, but not the kind that comes from turning off the noise around you. It is the silence that comes from turning off the noise within you. And this is the first test. Most people fear silence, not because it is empty, but because it is full of things we have not wanted to face. But you must sit with it, let the discomfort rise, let the mind scream, let the thoughts twist and turn like serpents in a jar. Do not react, do not run, just observe. Eventually, the mind exhausts itself. It always does, and then something remarkable happens. The space between thoughts begins to widen. The gaps grow longer, and in those gaps, vision is born. True inner vision is not about seeing more, it is about seeing less. Less distortion, less noise, less interference from memory and imagination. It is about seeing what is exactly as it is, without the filter of self. This kind of seeing does not happen with the eyes. It happens with the being. You become aware of a world that was always there, humming quietly beneath the surface of everything you thought you knew. And once you touch that world, you can never go back. You may return to your routines. You may smile, speak, play the roles that life asks of you. But something within you has shifted. You are no longer fooled by appearances, you no longer mistake the mask for the face. The technique reveals not just the world, but yourself, and not the self you project, not the self you perform, but the self that simply is, without effort or identity. It may happen suddenly, in a breath, a blink, a moment so small the world would miss it. Or it may take years of discipline, of stillness, of falling and returning. There is no map, there is no guarantee. The path is not linear, it spirals, it folds in on itself. It tests you in ways you cannot prepare for. Some days it will feel like progress, other days like forgetting, but both are necessary. Both are part of the same movement, the unraveling. And this technique, this forbidden art, does not reveal its secrets to the impatient. You must earn its trust, like the taming of a wild animal. You do not chase it, you sit patiently for hours, days, even years if needed. You become so still that your presence no longer threatens it. And then maybe it comes to you, maybe, and if it does, it will come quietly without fanfare. It will whisper, not shout. It will open a door inside you that was always there, just waiting to be noticed. This vision is not for the sake of power, it is not for spectacle, it is for clarity, for truth, for alignment. It is the ability to sense the hidden thread that weaves all things together, to perceive intention beneath action, emotion beneath word, movement beneath stillness. And once you develop this vision, you begin to move differently in the world. Your actions are no longer reactions, they are responses measured, aware, in harmony with the whole. But this vision also comes with a cost. You will no longer be able to lie to yourself. You will see your own patterns, your fears, your attachments, not as ideas but as energetic forms, as echoes in the field of awareness. And this is where the real discipline begins, not in the technique itself, but in living with what it shows you. In taking responsibility for your own energy, your own mind, your own presence. You may feel isolated at first. When your vision clears, and you see what others do not yet see, it can feel like standing alone on a mountaintop while the world sleeps in the valley below. But this solitude is not emptiness. It is spaciousness. It is the sacred space in which transformation happens. And soon, you will realize you are not alone. You never were. You are part of something so vast, so interconnected, that the very idea of separateness dissolves. There will be moments of doubt, moments when the path feels unclear, the silence too deep, the stillness too heavy. But do not give up. Even in those moments, the technique is working. Even when you cannot see it, the seed is growing underground. Trust the process, trust the space, trust the stillness, and most of all, trust yourself. The mind will try to interfere. It will tell you that nothing is happening, that you're wasting time, that there is something better to do. Let it speak. Let it chatter. And keep sitting, keep breathing, keep watching. This is the discipline, not grand gestures, not dramatic rituals, just unwavering presence. That is the true power. And in time, your perception will begin to shift, not just inward, but outward. You will begin to see the world itself differently. Trees will no longer be just trees. They will be expressions of stillness. People will no longer be just people. They will be mirrors. Challenges will no longer be problems. They will be opportunities to refine your presence, to test your alignment, to deepen your vision. You will begin to notice things you once missed. The space between words, the emotion behind a glance, the subtle movement of energy as someone enters a room. This is not magic. This is not supernatural. It is natural. It is what happens when your perception is no longer dulled by distraction, when your awareness is no longer hijacked by fear or desire. And as this vision strengthens, your choices become clearer. You no longer move from confusion, but from clarity. You no longer seek answers because you are the answer, not the you that is name or role or story. The you that is silent, steady, aware. That presence becomes your compass, your guide, your power. There is a kind of knowing that does not come from study, a knowing that cannot be taught, only realized. It arises not from gaining something new, but from shedding what is false. The technique does not give you more. It frees you from less, from the weight of illusions, from the fog of ego, from the cage of thought. And when you are free, even for a moment, even in a breath, you will understand what all the masters spoke of. not through their words but through their silence. That silence holds the entire teaching. That stillness is the doorway, that presence is the technique, and that seeing, true seeing, is not about the eyes. It is about the eye, but not the eye you have always identified with, not the eye of me and mine. It is the eye that is nothing and everything, the eye that watches the mind as it rises and falls, the breath as it comes and goes, the world as it dances through form and formlessness. That eye is the source of inner vision. It needs no technique, no teaching, only your return. So, sit, be still, watch. The forbidden technique is not locked behind gates. It is hidden in plain sight, veiled only by your own distractions. The key has always been within you, and the vision you seek has always been watching you, waiting for you to become still enough, silent enough, present enough to see. And when you begin to see, truly see, you realize how blind you have been, not because your eyes were closed, but because your attention was scattered. The world pulls you in 1,000 directions, each voice louder than the last, each demand urgent, each distraction convincing. But now you know better. Now you understand that the path to inner vision requires stillness in the midst of motion, silence in the center of noise, and unwavering presence in a world of endless urgency. This kind of presence is not passive. It is not lazy or indifferent. It is alive, sharp, grounded like the roots of a mountain. From this grounded stillness, your senses begin to recalibrate. You no longer see with just the eyes or hear with just the ears. You feel with your whole being. The subtle becomes clear. The invisible becomes felt. You begin to notice the way someone breathes when they are afraid, the tension in a voice pretending to be strong, the way a room changes when certain thoughts enter it. This is not mystical. It is not supernatural. It is awareness, refined and unshaken. You start to sense not only the presence of others, but the quality of that presence. Some will feel heavy, unsettled, chaotic. Others will feel light, still, expansive, and you will realize that you too carry a field around you. You too affect the world, not just with your actions, but with your vibration. And so the technique demands responsibility, because once you see, you cannot unsee. Once you feel the impact of your energy, your words, your thoughts, you must choose to walk with care. But that care is not fear. It is reverence. Reverence for the present moment, for the invisible threads that connect all things, for the deep intelligence that animates life beneath the surface. This intelligence does not shout. It does not push. It guides with the gentlest hand, the softest pull. Only those who have become quiet enough inside will feel it. And in this silence you discover that your inner vision is not something you use. It is something you become. It's not a tool, it is a transformation. You stop looking outward for signs, and you start recognizing that every sign you need is already appearing within. You feel it in your body, in your breath, in the space between your thoughts. Life speaks in this space, not in language, but in alignment, in intuition, in knowing. Others will notice the change in you. They may not understand it, they may not be able to name it, but they will feel it. They will feel that when you walk into a room, the atmosphere shifts, that your gaze sees more than just faces. It sees stories, patterns, truth. Some will be drawn to you. Others may feel exposed, because your vision, now clear, reveals not only beauty but also illusion, not only harmony but imbalance. This is why the technique is not for everyone. It is not for those who wish to escape life. It is for those who are ready to meet life fully, honestly, completely. It will ask you to see all that you are, including the parts you have hidden from yourself, the insecurities, the attachments, the false identities. It will not judge them. It will simply show them to you. And it is up to you to decide what you do with that truth. With inner vision awakened, you begin to live from a different place. You are no longer driven by impulse. You act from clarity. You speak from silence. You move from stillness. And in doing so, you become aligned, not with the world's demands, but with the deeper rhythm of existence itself. You begin to trust that rhythm. You begin to let go of forcing outcomes, manipulating situations, chasing approval. You see that all of that was noise, distractions from the real work, the inner work. And this inner work is not glamorous. It is not for the cameras or applause. It is done in solitude, in silence, in the small moments when no one is watching. It is done in how you breathe when you are misunderstood, how you respond when fear rises, how you return to presence when the mind tries to pull you into the past or the future. Each of these moments is part of the technique. Each moment is a doorway back into the vision. There will be days when the clarity fades, when the fog returns, when the mind grows loud again. Do not resist this. The technique is not about perfection. It is about remembering. Every time you remember, every time you return, you are strengthening the path. You are deepening the vision. Even the forgetting becomes part of the seeing. Even the mistakes become teachers. And over time, you begin to sense that everything, every person, every challenge, every emotion is part of your training. The world becomes your teacher. The obstacles become your mirrors. The difficult people show you where your patience ends. The painful situations show you where you are still holding on. Nothing is wasted, everything is used. As your perception sharpens, you begin to recognize that behind every mask is a truth waiting to be seen. Behind every conflict is a deeper need. Behind every word is an unspoken feeling. You listen differently, you speak less. You begin to communicate not just with words, but with presence, and your presence speaks louder than anything you say. There is a moment, and you will know it when it comes, where you no longer search for the technique, because you have become it. You no longer wonder how to activate your inner vision, because it is always on, always available, always guiding you. You begin to live from a place of deep listening, not listening with the ears, but with the whole self. And from that listening, you move with precision. You begin to sense the right action, the right word, the right timing, not from calculation, but from inner alignment. In this state, there is no more division, no split between the inner and the outer. You see that everything is arising from the same source, that the person in front of you is not separate from you, that what you do to them, you do to yourself, that every thought, every emotion, every intention has weight, has consequence. This is the vision beyond the invisible, seeing not just form, but essence, not just motion, but meaning, not just sound, but silence beneath the sound. And yet, this vision is not the final destination. It is the beginning of true service. Because once you see, once you know, you cannot live just for yourself. You carry a responsibility, not in burden but in devotion. A responsibility to be clear in a world clouded by confusion, to be still in a world of chaos, to be kind in a world of noise. And in this service you are not seeking recognition. You are simply honoring the vision, honoring the silence that gave birth to it, honoring the life that flows through you. Your actions become prayers, your presence becomes medicine, not because you try, but because you are aligned. You are not performing, you are not pretending, you are simply present. And in that presence, transformation happens. You will still feel pain, you will still face loss, disappointment, uncertainty, but you will not be consumed by them. You will witness them, feel them, and allow them to move through you like weather through the sky. And beneath it all, the vision remains clear, steady, unshaken. This is the real power, not in control, but in clarity, not in domination, but in depth. The power to see without distortion, to move without hesitation, to be without effort. It is subtle, quiet, unnoticed by the world, but unmistakable in its impact. And when you embody this, truly embody it, you become the technique itself. You become the stillness others feel, the clarity they seek, the mirror that reflects truth. Not because you teach, but because you are, because you have returned, because you remember, because you see. And so, the path returns to where it began. Not in some distant temple, not in a book or technique handed down through tradition, but in you. All along, the doorway to vision has been within, waiting not for perfection, but for presence, waiting for you to become quiet enough to listen, still enough to feel, and honest enough to see, not the world as you wish it to be, but as it is, not yourself as you pretend to be, but as you truly are. This journey, the so-called forbidden technique, is forbidden not because it is hidden by force, but because it demands the courage to face what most avoid. It asks you to sit with discomfort, to dissolve illusion, to see beyond appearances. That is the part most fear, not the technique itself, but what it reveals. Because once your inner vision awakens, once the veil is lifted, You are responsible for what you now know. You can no longer sleepwalk through life. You can no longer blame others for your disconnection. You have seen, and with that seeing comes responsibility to walk with awareness, to speak with integrity, to live from presence. This is not a burden, it is a gift, a profound liberation. Because once you realize that you are not your thoughts, not your fears, not your past, you begin to understand your true nature. You are awareness itself. You are the space in which all experiences arise. And from this space, clarity flows like water, compassion grows like light. Your actions, once reactive, become deliberate. Your words, once hurried or hollow, carry the weight of silence and truth. As your vision deepens, you stop trying to fix the world. Instead, you become the change. You embody the alignment, you live as the still point in a spinning world, and others will feel that. Even if they cannot name it, they will feel it. They will sense something in you that is rare, something steady, something quietly powerful. That is the gift of inner vision, not just for yourself, but for the world around you. Because the world doesn't need more noise. It doesn't need more control, more distraction, more speed. It needs people who can see clearly. People who can stand still when the winds of fear blow. People who can respond, not react. Love, not cling. Speak, not shout. People who move from presence, from truth, from the vision that sees beyond the surface, beyond the stories, beyond the invisible. This technique, this path, is not easy, but it is simple. It does not ask you to add anything. It asks you to let go, to return, again and again, to remember, to see. And in that seeing, everything changes, not because the world changes, but because you do. The eyes of the body show you form, but the eye of the inner being shows you truth. And once that eye opens, it never fully closes again. It waits quietly for you to return, to remember, to see, and finally, to live.